Hello, my name's Paul and I live in Northern California and it's 12:35 p.m. on October 1st, 2012. Something's different in the world and I'm not so sure that I like it. Let me explain myself a little bit if I may. I used to own a private security company and I'll be brief. I've never hid that fact. Matter of fact, here it is right here. Let's do a search for it. Notice that after operating at a loss, I went into the ministry. And this is paid for till the end of the year, so I had them add this statement and leave it up there because I wanted this to go out to the entire world because that's how far it reaches. This right here is called a California Private Patrol Operator License, and you must have this license number. I did this for 21 years, and this number is dead, so don't bother calling it. Just as if you'd want an electrician to come work on your house to be licensed, so it goes with the private security industry. They must have a private security license, and they must list it on their website. Matter of fact, I got called and woken up by Georgia, the Bureau of Enforcement for the state of California, because we were doing a simple upgrade to add in a few pictures of some executive protection work we'd done, and somehow we had omitted the license number. Within 24 hours they called us at 7 a.m. and they gave us an hour to get it back up. That's the truth. I had witnesses to that. So that's my background. So let's go to this. This is being overlooked. The Halo Corporation is training for a zombie apocalypse. Now everybody says this is tongue-in-cheek, but is it? Because I just read an article from the CDC and from these guys that state that when people, they're incorporated, so this is their president, I believe. It's implied, and it's my personal opinion, allegedly, that it would seem, honestly, that this is a hybrid company that is not adhering to the standards of the state of California, according to the Bureau of Security and BSIS. You're supposed to wear private security badges that list the name of your company, and they have to say private security on them, and you have to have patches on each shoulder. That's, per the Private Security Act and other regulations that show that you're private, and not to differentiate you between military and law enforcement as a private sector. Matter of fact, it goes as far as you cannot use terms like federal or state or anything like that, like CSI or NCIS. You can't use those names because it would imply that you're not just a private security company, that you're military or law enforcement, and we don't want the world to be confused. I did this 21 years, and as the owner of the company, I know the private security law and the B&P code. It's called the Business and Perfection Code. So I began to look at why they're running this drill and wear, and I noticed, here's a carrier. I was down here in the 80s. Here's a carrier right here. See that? There's a carrier loaded up. That might be the museum, if I'm correct. I think that's actually a museum, the Midway. And here's another mini carrier across the way. Just give you an idea of where they're at and where the border is. Down here is Mexico. I was stationed down here. I used to drive down Mexico all the time on a motorcycle. So, long story short, I was Google Earthing the area, as you can see, and while I was Google Earthing in real time, someone used this location right here to hit my website that I've already shown you, and I'll prove it. There's their IP. And when you run this IP, it'll show that they're breaking and again, allegedly, and it is my opinion, and it would seem, not to defame anybody or anything. I'm just looking at the facts presented in front of me and giving a personal opinion. it would appear that this information on this government website is not valid, that was apparently, in my opinion, and allegedly spying on me in real time. Again, it's just an opinion. This information is the County of San Diego Department of Information Services, and the website is expired, and this is a cached version of it. That's all I could find on that. And yet they hit my website last night at 8 p.m. in real time while I was Google Earthing them. You find that fascinating? And it just happens to be near. And just to give some validity to my company, here is News 10 running an article after Gabby Giffords got shot. We were cited as experts. This is my company that I owned, and this was my director of operations who protected 2 governors and 2 sitting presidents, Secret Service trained, retired, and even he knew. He worked for what's called the GPD, the Governor Protection Detail. Even he knew, because he now works in the private sector. I don't know anyone more trained than him when it comes to protecting people. He was my director. Even he knew the difference between active duty law enforcement. You can read this article if you want. Here's the link. And law enforcement. That there's a difference between private security and law enforcement. But according to the Halo Corporation, now again, in my opinion and allegedly, they're training for a zombie apocalypse or something similar that could instill that type of fear and panic, such as civil unrest. I believe another one they list is a border intrusion or a virus outbreak. For example, it says a zombie-like virus outbreak is a good training scenario. Visitors will learn to deal with a worldwide pandemic where people become very crazy, violent, and fearful. Okay, let's say there was a worldwide pandemic. Would your face look like this, and would you strip naked in your underwear and start chewing on your neighbor? You see the illusion here? Well, according to all these government agencies, you would, and they're preparing for that. The military, the law enforcement, and the private sector, and they're going to bring 1,000 military, police, LA Police Department, all these special forces groups, medical experts, retired NSA, CIA, and also just the country of Mexico is bringing in experts. This is just updated on September 21st, so this is going to take place over a period of 5 days. You can watch the video here, and you can Google that they were on the Huffington Post and that these are credible sources. Why are they looking at my website in real time? Allegedly, in my opinion. How did they know I was looking at them? Am I allowed to ask questions? Is this still America? And watch this video. I'm going to put a link to this video. Listen to why he explains he's doing this and the biblical terms he mentions, like breaking bread. They've actually rented or leased an entire island. Now notice in the background you'll see the Coronado Bridge, which I've passed under many times. Ask yourself, why in the world would a private security company, first of all, not have to adhere to the private security rules and regulations of Cal BSIS? I'll put this right here for those who feel like they have a right to complain. That's the agency you can report to and ask, why aren't they required to wear patches identifying them as private security on their left and right shoulder with a badge over their left breast, identifying them as private sector and not military and law enforcement? Why are they exempt from that? If you want to know, go to this website. Why would a Navy SEAL or an Army Ranger or a Marine Green Beret who jumps out of helicopters for a living and undoes bombs with his teeth, with his hands tied behind his back, and then takes out 10 people with a pocket knife, need training from the private industry? I'm going to tell you exactly what I believe, in my opinion, and allegedly seems and apparently could or may be happening. And you're wondering why am I talking like that? Because it's just an opinion. I'm not stating it as fact. Could it be that there isn't enough federal officers? Could it be that we've laid off too many police officers and there's been too many budget cuts and crime is at an all-time high while we've reduced our law enforcement, so they've had to involve the private sector? Could it be that private security companies can reach such a level in the GSA, it's called the government, when you become a government contractor like Blackwater, for example, where you can go overseas and do things that would be illegal here in the United States and carry weapons that are illegal. Matter of fact, for those guns in the hands of a private civilian are illegal. That they're illegal here in the state of California. Ask yourself, why would the military that is trained to parachute into enemy lands need any type of private security training? Ask yourself that. Start asking questions. There's nothing wrong with asking questions, I assure you. There is nothing wrong with asking questions. Let's look a little bit at this video.
True physical.
Let's just look a little bit.
Technology is a force multiplier so that small units can do more with less. So that 10 people can behave like 1,000 and 1,000 can behave like an army. We want to be able to give the right information to the right operator in the right format so they can have, a God's eye view of the situation. So being able to share that type of information in an environment like this, where you're completely immersed in several scenarios from 6 a.m. until 2 in the morning, some really, really good outcomes are going to be.
All right, so let me close with this. Could it be, and it's funny that he mentions on October 31st, the night of Halloween, and I'll link to this video, the biggest spook in the world, retired NSA and CIA director, will be the guest speaker that night. The biggest spook, he refers him to. Could it be that this thing ends right before the elections and they're preparing for civil unrest? Doesn't matter if Obama wins or Romney wins. 50% are going to be happy if Obama wins, and 50% are going to be happy with Romney winning. Could it be that the military and law enforcement have found themselves in a state that has millions of people that they're going to have to control with lethal force, and they're willing to do that? And that's why we're seeing tank movement. That's why we're seeing troop movement. Are we the targets? Have we become prisoners in our own state, held to a different set of rules rather than the Constitution? Or have we lost the liberties and the unalienable rights that we were born with? And are they now bringing in private security companies and giving them military powers? And if so, who's the target? Zombies? Can I be honest with you and tell you a big secret? There's no such thing as zombies. If you believe that the Navy SEALs, which I was in the Navy, need training from a private security guard, then you need to have your head examined. If you believe that zombies are real, you need to have your head examined. Okay? Ask questions, because this thing begins in less than a month. And then we go into the elections, and they're watching you. They are watching you. Can I prove that? Yes. They are watching you. They are watching you. Well, whose website is this they visited? It's mine. It's not even active. They are watching you. I find it fascinating that everything I do a story on comes to visit me. Stockton, San Diego. How do they know that? How do they know? It's just my house. Using Comcast. Ask questions. It's still illegal, isn't it? It's still legal to ask questions, right? You need some credibility on my background in the private security and that I know what I'm talking about. There you go. could show you more news articles if I needed to. Peace.